Of all the superheroes to become the god of strength, I think we can agree that Superman makes the most sense. Thanks to Justice League The Darkseid War, we get to see just that. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, and let's jump in. So, for some backstory, back in August of 2011, DC Comics rolled out their New 52 line of comics, retelling the story of DC's mainline universe in order to welcome in new readers with refreshed backstories for all of their mainline heroes, and then going forward with their stories in a new age of DC Comics. Well, the culmination of that whole thing, the whole New 52, was the Darkseid War, which saw the confrontation between two of the most destructive evil forces around, Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor, who both confront each other on the Earth, because of course they do, and threaten to wipe out literally everything, because of course they do, again. Now, the conflict between these two massive forces of evil was orchestrated with a whole handful of other characters, like Darkseid's Amazonian daughter, Grail, her mother Marina Black, the god Metron, and even Lex Luthor's sister. Now, that last one may seem a little out of left field, and it certainly caught Lex by surprise. By this time in the comic book run, Lex Luthor had been the main guy who helped to save the world from an evil version of the Justice League known as the Crime Syndicate of America, who hailed from Earth 3. They had escaped that Earth when it was being destroyed by the Anti-Monitor, and almost completely took over the mainline Earth, but thanks to a group of villains, led by Lex, they were stopped. Lex Luthor and a few other villains became members of the Justice League to a degree, and while they may not trust each other at all, he and Superman began working together. Now, when Darkseid War kicks off, the two of them are together away from the other members of the League, and part of the bad guys' plans was to deal with both Superman and Lex Luthor by making Lena Luthor load her brother with a bit of lead and then send them both to Darkseid's homeworld of Apokolips, while the other members of the League were facing off against Grail. While it may make sense to you or to me to send in someone capable of doing the job, Darkseid doesn't seem overly concerned that Superman is now on Apokolips, and he doesn't seem too concerned with making sure Superman is dealt with without question. He denies Steppenwolf's offer to deal with Superman and Lex, and instead instructs that the Blood Shepherd will unlock the pens to the multitude of indentured servants being held on Apokolips, and to instead let whichever one of them that defeats Superman be given their freedom. Darkseid's reason for doing this is because he knows that Superman's moral fiber wouldn't allow him to try and harm the innocent thralls enough to save himself due to a misplaced belief that there is hope in everyone. But as dceu says, there is no hope on Apokolips. That's what he says the reason is, but I think we all know the reason is because then it would just take away from the rest of the story. That's probably what would happen. Anyways, as Superman and Lex are making their way through Apokolips's hellish landscape, making little snide comments towards each other, because of course they are, but still searching for a mother box as a way to escape the planet, Superman realizes that his X-ray vision is not working like it should be. For Superman, he assumes that there must be lead in the air that is blocking his ability from working, as lead is one of the few materials that Superman cannot see through, but Lex's suit is able to pretty quickly disprove that. Lex is also able to pick up on a strange noise that Superman can't, which is when they turn the corner and are being charged by a whole stampede of Darkseid's manual labor, set on trying to destroy Superman for their freedom, just as the Dark God had ordered and promised them. They swarm the Man of Steel, who is able to barely keep them back with the help of Lex Luthor, taking a club to the face, which shouldn't be a problem for a Kryptonian like him, but instead, Lex Luthor is left completely flabbergasted when he sees that not only did Superman feel that hit, but he is also leaking red from the wound. This is when they realize that there isn't any lead in the air, but there is absolutely no sun in the sky for Superman to be drawing power from, leaving him incredibly vulnerable. So naturally, Lex and Superman start running for their very vulnerable lives. Since Superman cannot fly right now, Lex instead offers his hand and takes off with Superman in one arm, trying to escape from the Horde. But unfortunately, in the skies of Apokolips, they are still not safe from parademons who descend on the pair, which is when Lex realizes there is no escape escape in their current condition. Realizing that the massive fire pits on Apokolips are giving off incredibly massive amounts of solar energy, without much warning, Lex drops Superman right into a fire pit. Not knowing how this would affect Superman for certain, Lex begins fighting off the parademons, hoping against hope that his idea will work, when a massive flash of bright white lights up the sky and blows away the parademons, followed directly by a black and white version of Superman going off about how he should have ended Lex Luthor years ago. It seems that throwing Superman into Apokolips's solar pits did indeed recharge him and his abilities. It did it so well that it completely overcharged them, sending Superman's abilities into a level of power that has never really been seen before. Now, even immune to kryptonite, he has become Superman, the god of strength. He deals with the parademons as if they were never an issue to begin with, but now his sights are set squarely on Luthor himself. For some reason, the solar radiation from Apokolips's solar pits not only boosted up Superman's abilities, but it also turned the hero into a massive jerk. Superman and Lex Luthor have never gotten along, but with this new arrogance, Superman puts a beat down on Lex, destroying his armor, making him admit that Superman could beat him any day of the week, and then Superman takes off, leaving Lex stranded and beaten on the homeworld of Darkseid, who, side note, just got defeated by the Anti-Monitor and the Black Racer / Flash back on Earth. Now what happens to Lex next is also super cool, but it is not important to what we are talking about going forward, so if you want to know that story, let us know in the comments down below. But the story of this amped up new Superman actually takes a step away from the main Darkseid War story, and now we move over to Justice League Darkseid War Superman, the standalone comic. This somewhat small story picks up in Metropolis, where the city has seemingly been suffering without Supes around to solve all of its problems, leaving people wondering what the heck happened to Superman. Well, as we know, he was on Apokolips, but he is coming back, and he's coming in hot. While traveling, Superman found himself in a small fight with a warsuit wearing alien who was just trying to make a name for himself by defeating Superman. This alien absolutely chose the wrong day to test his mettle. Superman arrives in Metropolis in a raging ball of fire as he introduces this alien to the ground. Instead of doing the heroic thing and dealing with the alien in any kind of final way, Superman instead tosses the little green man aside, saying how it isn't worthy of his time. He then flies off to his favorite diner to get some pie, but not before he steals someone else's food, demands to be fed, belittles the diner owner, and yells at a lady who wants him to just say hi to her cousin's birthday party. Like I said, God of Strength Superman is a huge dingleberry. Yeah, well, now that Superman has his pie, he can finally turn his attention to the chaos caused by the alien that he just let go. That little guy, who was apparently unworthy of Superman, has covered almost the entire city of Metropolis in this black living goop that seems to be consuming everything in its sight. But still, Superman doesn't seem to give a damn. He's become almost completely detached from his humanity. Even as Jimmy Olsen comes to him desperate for help, Superman goes on and on about how all he ever does is help and save the Earth just for it to get itself back in danger. He isn't human anymore, so why should he care? Well, Jimmy, being the absolute gem that he is, rattles off the little intricacies of human life that he knows Superman loves, all while being smothered by the black goop. Once Superman sees his city completely covered and silent, still and unmoving, all it takes is a little pigeon to land on his shoulder, and then he shoos it off. But then as it's flying away, he realizes that he scared it away, and he's like, oh no, come back. And then he's cool again. He's like, I should probably save these people. Now using his frost breath, Superman freezes the entirety of Metropolis, freezing the goo at the alien weapon that produced it, and then, with one massive punch, he shatters it all, freeing the people of Metropolis and saving the day before he flies off to get the help of the Justice League. Now, back on Earth and back in the main Darkseid War story, Superman in his God of Strength form interrupts Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor while Steve is basically getting jealous of Wonder Woman and Superman. Behaving very much not like himself, Superman basically picks up Steve trying to intimidate the guy, and it starts a fight between him and Wonder Woman. Superman may be the God of Strength here, but Wonder Woman, she's Wonder Woman, and she gets her lasso around the Man of Steel, using it to get him to calm the heck down and say who he is under all that power. He's still just Clark Kent from Smallville. Joined by Batman, who has become the god of knowledge, and Hal Jordan, who hasn't become the god of anything, Superman learns that the amount of radiation giving him this power boost is also beginning to completely break down his cellular structure. Superman, now alongside the rest of the Justice League, team up with the Crime Syndicate of America to take on the Anti-Monitor in his proper form as Mobius. Well, that is until Ultraman smacks Superman away and he seems to just go missing from the fight for way longer than you'd think. By the time he comes back, Lex Luthor has returned to the Earth from Apocalypse as the new Darkseid. I told you it was cool. Lex put a hell of a beatdown on Mobius, and now the Trinity, obviously including Superman, are going in to make their move. Using Batman's new knowledge, Superman and Wonder Woman are able to put their own beatdown on Mobius until Superman's cellular structure begins to react to the Apocalypse energies again. But instead of backing off, Superman decides he has had enough of his cells being destroyed, and he lets off an absolutely massive blast of energy, leveling almost the entire area and finally returning Superman back to normal. That is really where the God of Strength power-up wears off for Superman. From this point forward to the end of the Darkseid War storyline will have to be investigated by you lovely nerds, or if you enjoyed this video, let us know with a comment down below and we will see what we can do about potentially making a Darkseid War video. But that's the story of Superman God of Strength. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, and I will catch you all on the flippy flop. Peace out, nerds.